Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Joyful Money Podcast. Today, I want to talk to you about how to stop being lazy and be more motivated. Yes, being lazy of is one of a lot of things we struggle with as business owners. And like I said in two of my previous episodes, on this podcast, I'm not here to preach at you, okay? I'm going to talk from my experience, okay? I want you to be as relatable as possible because I am also a business owner. I am on my way to building a $10 million a year business. And so all of the things I face myself are the things I talk about on this podcast. And many of the people in my program, in my mastermind, I have a 6 month mastermind where I teach coaches and consultants how to scale to 50K months. One of the things I see a lot of my students struggle with is being lazy. So somebody brought it up in our coaching session this week, and I thought, oh, I need to do a podcast episode on this topic about how to stop being lazy and be more motivated. Now, laziness is a struggle that many of us face, right? Even when you have big dreams like I do, which is to create a $10 million a year business. I have big dreams, I have ambitious goals. But the good news is this: being lazy is not something you can be stuck with forever. It's a habit that can be changed. By shifting your mindset and implementing a few key strategies, you can overcome laziness and reignite your passion and motivation for success. Now, I want to talk about the root cause of laziness to start with. Well, laziness usually stems from an underlying issue. Maybe it's overwhelm or the fear of failure. You're afraid of failing. And so subconsciously, your brain gives up. Or maybe it's a lack of clear direction, or you have so much on your plate. Maybe you're trying to set up a funnel, for example. You have a new funnel you need to set up, and there's so much to do. You need to set up the website, you need to set up your ads on Facebook, and you're just overwhelmed with what needs to be done. So, identifying the root cause is very, very important. Also, laziness is one of the human traits we have. I like to tell people that the human brain is not designed for success, right? We have three motivational triad, and this is to avoid pain, seek pleasure, and conserve energy. So those are the three motivations. So by default, our brain, your brain and my brain, is conditioned for conservation of energy, which is it doesn't want to do anything if it doesn't have to do it. So your brain is going to prefer to watch Netflix, right? It's going to prefer to watch Netflix instead of sitting on the computer and working on your business. That's what your brain prefers. That's the human brain. So many people wait for motivation in order to do their business. You do not have to wait for motivation. When you have a clear routine and you do the thing regardless of how you feel, then you will create success. So do not gauge your activities based on your feelings, right? Don't wait to feel good. Don't wait to feel motivated to take the actions you need in your business. This is exactly how I run my business. And it's exactly what has made me as successful as I am. Well, I'm not hugely successful yet in my brain, but where I am today, making 50K every single month, I think it's relative success on my journey to creating a $10 million a year business. Okay. Next thing I want to encourage you to do is to set very clear and achievable goals. Without a very clear goal, it's very easy to feel lost. It's very easy to feel unmotivated. So start by breaking down your big goal into very, very small achievable goals. So for example, my goal is to build my business to the point where it makes $10 million per year. I need to break that down to say, okay, what do I need to do per month to get me to 50K every single month? So instead of looking at the $10 million a year goal, I'm going to break my goal into small chunks, achieve that. Once I get to 50K, I'm going to say, okay, how do I get this to 100K? Okay, so that's how I'm going to go. Set very clear, achievable goals so that I hit those goals and I give my brain a dopamine hit, right? Because your brain likes it when it checks things off the list. Another thing I do to stop being lazy is to create a routine. So, like I said, regardless of how you feel, you have to create a routine. Establish a daily routine for yourself. So, for example, you wake up at the same time every single day, you go for a walk or a run every single day, and you sit on your computer every single day to do the work. So, you have a very clear routine regardless of how you feel. So, even if you feel low, even if you feel like not doing the work, you still go do it because you have a routine. And this is something I have found that separates the successful people from the unsuccessful people. These successful people have found a way to reprogram their brain to do the things that are uncomfortable. So instead of seeking pleasure like the normal human brain, ultra successful people have found a way to embrace discomfort. So they don't see pain and discomfort as something to run away from. In fact, they embrace pain and discomfort in the moment in order to get the future that they want. So creating a routine is absolutely critical. Another thing I have found is that many people have a plan B, right? They have a fallback plan. So, as a coach, as a consultant, if your goal is to create a 500K business, right? You want to make 500K per year. I find that many people, because of how society has conditioned them, especially in the West, your lives are more comfortable compared to my background where I come from. I was born in sub Saharan Africa and life was a struggle. And one of the things that pushed me towards success was the fear of poverty, right? So, what I find in countries like the UK, the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, in the West, your lives are so comfortable and you have fallback plans. For example, your government will pay you when you're out of work, okay? Now, I know my views might be unpopular on these issues, but these are just my views. I feel like many people in the West are not very motivated to succeed. Like, that's the truth. Because everything seems so easy, right? It seems like the government has made things easy for you in the sense that if you're out of work, the government will pay you. In fact, when I was in the UK, I spent 10 years in the UK. I was so surprised the number of people that wouldn't work. And when I asked them, my neighbors, when I asked them, they said it was better for them to be on government subsidies, like the stipends that the government pays them. It is more profitable for them to be unemployed than for them to be employed. Like that just blew my mind away, right? So so many people settle for a mediocre life because of the fallback plan they have, right? So, for example, you would see a 35-year-old man who has the mindset of, oh, I'm going to move back to my parents' house, right? Like, it blows my mind away. Like, if you think it's okay for a 35-year-old man to go back to his parents' house because he doesn't want to live in a shared house, for example. So that's what I mean by having a plan B. Many people have a plan B, and so they don't have that drive. They don't have that motivation to create success for themselves. So imagine when I left my home back in Africa. In fact, I knew there was no going back because there was nothing to go back to, right? The hopes of my family were on my shoulders. I had to be successful in order for my mom and dad to eat. Like, that was it. If I didn't work hard and send money back home, there was not going to be food in my house. In fact, in London, I had to work two jobs. I was a sales assistant in Marks and Spencer's. So Marks and Spencer's is a big retail store in in the UK. I worked there during the day, and at night I worked as a security guard. Yes, yours truly, Joy Rowland, was a security guard at night because I needed to do what was necessary to feed my family back home in Africa. So all of that drove me towards success. So what I find in many people is that they don't have that same drive. Their life is so easy. And I used to tell people, I live in Canada now. When you turn on the tap and you have clean water coming out, that's abundance right there. I didn't have that growing up until I was 25 years old. I left my country when I was 25. So just putting on the tap and having clean water, that is a miracle in and of itself. You have access to 24 hours of power supply. Do you know how huge that is? Right now in my country, we do not have power supply, right? So when you come from the kind of background I come from, you have no option but to be determined to succeed. So I usually encourage my clients, you need to find your why. You need to find your reason to be motivated and not to be lazy. Okay. Another tip I have for you is to change your environment. So your environment determines whether you'll be successful or not. So if you are in company of people who pull you down, there is no way you can be successful. Okay, if you're feeling sluggish, maybe you live in a shared apartment where everyone wakes up in the morning, stays in bed until 12 noon, you just watch Netflix. Like that kind of environment will not motivate you to create the life of wealth and abundance you know you deserve. Maybe you live in an environment that doesn't inspire you. Maybe your environment is very untidy, very unkept, disorganized. There is no way you can be motivated in that kind of environment. In fact, research has shown that having a clean and tidy environment inspires success. So, action item for you today as you listen to this podcast, go back home. If your environment is not tidy, clean, tidy, and organize your environment in a way that it inspires you to succeed. Your environment is absolutely critical. It's going to energize you to succeed if you have a clean environment. Another tip I have for you to stop being lazy is to practice self-compassion and grace. Yes, many times you beat yourself up so much and you fail to recognize all of the successes you've created for yourself. Now, having an ambition to create a massively successful life does not replace the fact that you are inherently worthy, right? You, like, regardless of the size of your bank account, you are worthy. And so I find that many people tend to associate net worth with their self worth. And that's one of the things that keep people stuck. Your bank account has nothing to do with your self worth as a human being. You are inherently worthy. In fact, there is nothing you can do on earth that will make you less worthy than you are. God has made you in his image and his likeness, and you are inherently worthy. So give yourself that grace to say, I acknowledge my worth as a human being. I do not need extra money to make me feel more worthy than I am. But to express myself to the fullest and to express myself to the maximum of the capacity that God has blessed me with, I am striving for success. So that is completely different thing. So I see many people confuse self-worth with their net worth. Your bank account has nothing, I repeat, nothing to do with your self-worth as a human being. Okay, so practice self-compassion and come from a place of love. You cannot beat yourself up to success. It doesn't work. I used to white knuckle my way to success, and that led to more stress and depression, right? It has to come from a place of joy, love, self compassion, and self respect as well. Okay. The last tip I want to give you is to visualize your success. Like this is one thing I do every single day, and many people don't do this. This is different from having a vision board. Like I subscribe to the school of thought that says have a vision board, but the main vision board has to come from your mind, right? You create your future from your mind right now. And my coach has taught me that many people do not harness the power of their imagination. If you think about it, all of the things we enjoy today started with somebody's imagination. The example I like to give is the Wright brothers. The Wright brothers invented the airplane we have. Now, the airplane never existed until they imagined it in their minds, right? It never ever existed. Even the cars we drive today, it never existed until somebody closed their eyes and imagined it in their minds. So, if you want to create success, you have to see it in your mind's eye so clearly for it to manifest in the physical. And how do you do this? Well, the way I do this is I have Netflix in my mind. Okay. So before I go to bed every night, I lay down on my bed in the dark, I close my eyes, and I create a story. I act out the scene in my mind where I am so successful. I build that imagination so clearly in my mind. My vision is so clear in my mind that it's almost as good as true, right? When you keep doing that and you install that imagination in your mind, it's going to come true, right? So even now, when I think back at my time when I was growing up at age 25, where we couldn't even afford one hot meal per day. We would have one hot meal every 3 days, right? Even in that time, I used to use the power of imagination. It's so powerful. And I used to say, imagine I have my own house. It's so beautiful. And I imagine exactly what my house looks like. And now it's now a reality. I live in this amazing house that I love so much. Now, if I didn't do that to install that in my imagination, there is no way I would have had that today. So I want you to use the power of imagination to envision your success, to envision your future, the future where you create massive success for yourself and your family, a future where you make huge impact. Because a byproduct of having a huge impact is success, right? When you have huge impact in the world, you will be successful. Okay. So use the power of imagination, use the power of your mind to create the future you want. And when you implement these steps, I promise you that you wouldn't feel lazy anymore. You will be motivated to work on your business, to show up for yourself with confidence, with joy, with excitement, because like I always say, it's the joy, the excitement, the confidence you have that will attract new clients to you. I hope this episode has blessed you. If it has, please leave me comments, write me a review. I so much appreciate you. Thank you for being part of my world. See you back here on the next episode. Hey, very quickly before you go, if this podcast inspired or encouraged you in any way, please leave us a review on Apple Podcast and share this with a friend. It means a lot to us, and we appreciate your kindness and generosity in doing this. We'll see you back here on the next episode. Bye-bye.